The psychology of overcoming fear of failure. What if the only thing standing between you and your greatest dreams was a simple shift in how you see failure? Because here's the truth. Fear of failure isn't just some abstract concept. It's real. It's paralyzing. It's what stops you from starting that business, from asking for that raise, from taking that leap into the unknown. But what if I told you that failure isn't what you think it is? What if I told you that failure is actually the key to your success? Stay with me. Because by the end of this, you're going to see failure in an entirely new way. And once you do, nothing will hold you back again. We all experience fear. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, or what you do. Fear is universal. But how does it manifest in your life? Maybe it's that anxious feeling before you step on stage, that hesitation before making a tough decision, or that voice in your head whispering, "What if I fail?" But then we ask ourselves, where does this fear come from? The roots of fear of failure go deep. It's primal, embedded in our DNA from our ancestors who had to avoid real, life-threatening dangers. Today, though, that same fear mechanism kicks in when we're about to take a risk. Except now, it's not a saber-toothed tiger we're running from. It's the fear of rejection, embarrassment, or loss. Fear can be a motivator. It sharpens our instincts, pushes us to prepare, and can even give us an edge. But then it can also become a barrier. If we let it, fear can trap us in a cycle of hesitation, self-doubt, and missed opportunities. We've all had that little voice in our heads. You're not good enough. What if you fail? And suddenly, we freeze. That's self-doubt. That's negative self-talk. And it's one of the biggest killers of potential. But then we have perfectionism, the silent fuel behind fear. The idea that if it's not perfect, it's not worth doing. So we procrastinate. We avoid. And before we know it, we're stuck in a cycle. Fear leads to procrastination leads to avoidance, and avoidance leads to regret. So let me ask you, how many dreams have you put on hold because of negative thinking? How many opportunities have you let slip away because of self-doubt? Understanding how our brain reacts to fear is crucial. When we face uncertainty, the amygdala, the brain's fear center, fires up, sending signals that trigger fight, flight, or freeze responses. This is an automatic survival mechanism, but then it can hijack our decision-making process, making us overly cautious, risk-averse, and stuck in fear-based thinking. But what if we could train our brain to reframe these responses? Instead of seeing fear as a threat, what if we saw it as an opportunity? Neuroscience shows that when we reframe negative experiences as learning opportunities, we engage the prefrontal cortex, the logical, rational part of our brain. This shift rewires our thinking, making us more resilient and better equipped to handle setbacks. Let's break this down. Why do we fear failure so much? It's not just because we don't want to lose or feel pain. It's deeper than that. It's primal. Our brains are wired for survival, and failure feels like a threat. A threat to our identity, our worth, our future. And so we avoid it like the plague. But then we look around and we see the people who are winning at life. The ones crushing it in business, relationships, health, and guess what? They have failed more times than you can imagine. The difference? They see failure as part of the process, not the end of it. Thomas Edison said it best, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Let that sink in. The man who invented the light bulb, the thing that lights up our entire world, saw every failure as a step closer to success. So let me ask you, what's stopping you from seeing failure the same way? Failure isn't just something to overcome, it's something to embrace. It is a catalyst for growth. Every time you fail, you're given an opportunity to learn, adjust, and come back stronger. The most successful people in the world aren't those who avoid failure. They're the ones who turn it into fuel. James Clear, in Atomic Habits, says, "Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become." If you take action despite fear, you're reinforcing the identity of someone who is resilient, who learns from setbacks, and who persists no matter what. Failure isn't the enemy, it's the training ground for success. One of the best ways to build resilience is by setting small, achievable goals. When we break down our ambitions into bite-sized pieces, we create momentum. Each small victory chips away at the fear of failure and builds confidence in our ability to keep pushing forward. And let's talk about progress over perfection. Perfectionism is a fear-based illusion that keeps us stuck. If you wait until everything is perfect, you'll never take action. Done is better than perfect. As Sheryl Sandberg famously said, shift your focus to progress instead. Ask yourself, what small step can I take today that moves me forward? Because in the end, consistency beats perfection every single time. Failure isn't just something to overcome, it's something to embrace. It is a catalyst for growth. Every time you fail, you're given an opportunity to learn, adjust, and come back stronger. The most successful people in the world aren't those who avoid failure. They're the ones who turn it into fuel. One of the best ways to build resilience is by setting small, achievable goals. When we break down our ambitions into bite-sized pieces, we create momentum. Each small victory chips away at the fear of failure and builds confidence in our ability to keep pushing forward. And let's talk about progress over perfection. Perfectionism is a fear-based illusion that keeps us stuck. If you wait until everything is perfect, you'll never take action. Shift your focus to progress instead. Ask yourself, what small step can I take today that moves me forward? Because in the end, consistency beats perfection every single time. Let's shift gears. Imagine for a second that fear isn't something to run from. Imagine if you could use fear as a compass. What would that change for you? Instead of fear being a stop sign, it becomes a green light. Fear is telling you where you need to go. The only way past it is through it. Because on the other side of fear, freedom, growth, power. So, how do you do this? How do you actually rewire your brain so that failure doesn't paralyze you? Action steps to overcome fear of failure. 1. Redefine failure. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it. Think of failure as feedback. Every mistake, every misstep is simply data. Data that tells you what doesn't work so you can adjust and move forward. 2. Expose yourself to fear. The more you face what you fear, the less power it has over you. Start small. If you're afraid of public speaking, speak in front of one person, then 5, then 10. If you're afraid of rejection, challenge yourself to hear no at least 5 times a day. The more you do it, the less it stings. 3. Detach from outcome. Fear of failure often comes from tying our self-worth to results. But your worth isn't defined by whether you win or lose. It's defined by your willingness to show up and give it your all. 4. Adopt a growth mindset. Carol Dweck, in her groundbreaking work on mindset, found that people who believe they can grow and improve are far more successful than those who believe talent is fixed. Tell yourself, I am constantly learning. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. 5. Train your brain with visualization. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself succeeding. See it. Feel it. Your brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. The more you rehearse success in your mind, the more confidence you build. 6. Celebrate small wins. Every step forward, no matter how small, deserves recognition. Your brain thrives on reward. Acknowledge your progress and keep moving. Let's look at real examples. Did you know that Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team? That J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers? That Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination? These aren't just motivational stories. They are proof. Proof that failure means nothing unless you let it define you. Carol Dweck, in Mindset, the New Psychology of Success, states, "Becoming is better than being." This means that those who see challenges as opportunities for growth will always outperform those who believe abilities are fixed. It's not about being perfect today. It's about evolving every day. Nelson Mandela said, "I never lose. I either win or learn." What would happen if you started living by this principle? Let's look at real examples. Did you know that Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team? That J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers? That Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination? These aren't just motivational stories. They are proof. Proof that failure means nothing unless you let it define you. Nelson Mandela said, "I never lose. I either win or learn." What would happen if you started living by this principle? Now I'm going to ask you for something. I don't want you to just listen to this and walk away. I want you to take action. Pick one thing from today's talk. Just one. Maybe it's redefining failure. Maybe it's exposing yourself to fear. Maybe it's visualizing success. Whatever it is, do it today. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. And when you do, I want you to come back and tell me about it. Drop a comment below. Let me know what changed for you. If something you heard today sparked something inside you, if you felt even a small shift in how you see failure, then do yourself a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss another video. And hit that like button. It helps us keep bringing you content that changes lives. Because here's the truth. The more you feed your mind with powerful ideas, the more unstoppable you become. And we're just getting started. So, what are you going to do today? Are you going to let fear of failure stop you? Or are you going to step forward into your greatness?